in this short video I'm going to talk about something that I kind of, it's been bothering me in a way for a long time, something that I feel a need to point out as a pretty obvious distinction between men and women. And the thing that bothers me most really is something that I find women tend to do more often. Why does it bother me? Well, just because it's unnecessary, it's dysfunctional, and yet it's encouraged socially. So it's about the way that women tend to communicate as opposed to how men tend to communicate. So, for example, men are much more comfortable with written words, with a lack of indication of emotion. So, for instance, they're more comfortable with reading or reading on internet forums, for instance, where there's no smileys, there's no sign of a smiling face, there are no pleasant voices to listen to, no signs of kind of emotional acceptance, all that kind of thing. They're more comfortable with it. It's not that they're suppressing their emotions, it's because they kind of don't need it. It's like they're focusing on the meaning of the words and they don't have the need for any signs of friendliness in order to show that, you know, the communication is actually is operating with candour, with sincerity and with goodwill. They can pick up the idea that that there is honesty and sincerity in the way that others communicate, simply because they focus so much on the meaning of the words, simply because they're interested in the unfolding of a topic. Whereas, by contrast, women so often are focused on trying to get a social support or signs of acceptance or familiarity or friendliness from other people. So you often find in the woman, the way the woman writes is she's kind of indecisive. She doesn't want to offend anyone. She's got lots of smileys, lots of little dots, you know. So she's not being decisive or firm. She doesn't want to set herself up as an authority or an individual in her own right. She doesn't want to tread on anyone's toes. She wants to make sure that she's accepted by others. And it's completely unnecessary. I mean, for a person's functionality, they don't need to have another person's acceptance. For a person's intellectual functionality, they don't need that either. They can judge for themselves. But one of the most striking ways that this dysfunctionality displays itself is that there's the belief that if there's none of these signs of, if you don't have the friendly smile or the, you know, the kind of the lilting female voice, that therefore there's no goodwill, there's no friendliness, that even that there's a completely different personality behind the person who writes in a direct and succinct, polished way, in a very firm and principled way, versus the person whose face you can see, whose voice you can hear. You know, it's almost like there's this. Maybe this is a way to explain it, that that the animal attitude that's so deeply entrenched, it seems, in the way females respond to communication from other people. It's that they feel that there's no sincerity unless they can establish a rapport, like a personal connection. There's no. It's as if they assume that other people aren't going to tell them the truth unless they care about them personally. Yeah, that's basically how it appears to me, that women, and it reflects very much on themselves. They're not going to tell the truth, and they don't care about other people unless they have some kind of personal bond with other people. It's like they don't value the truth. They value belonging, being accepted, having kind of social status, some kind of personal existence, before anything else. So it's something that bothers me, and the way that I analyse it there, the way I pull it down to this this basic psychological foundation of the female or the feminine repulsion from the truth, is, I think, a very striking, a very true one. I mean, how else can you explain it? How else can you explain the way that women have a kind of repulsion from direct, principled discussion that doesn't attempt to make any personal connection? Why do they assume that such a communication is necessarily aggressive or ill-willed? Anyway, that's all I'm going to talk about here.